Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the PHNX Rising Show, brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app. I'm Ramon Chavez. Super happy to be here. Alongside me, as always, is Mr. Owen Evans. How you doing, sir?
Tell you what, it's been a hectic week, hasn't it? It has
I
been
thought we had agreed on a week off. I was
yeah,
like,
we
put my PTO. I'm relaxing. I'm chilling. I got my puppy right here. And no, all this stuff goes down when I'm trying to relax. So that's not cool. But it is what it is.
yeah. I mean, what we logged off on Tuesday thinking, great, we've not got anything until next Tuesday. Since then, we've seen Rick depart. We've seen a brand new coach come in. Wow, this has just been. They never give us any rest, do they? Never any rest.
And the way you're putting it makes it seem like it just happened, like, all nice and with a bow tie, and it was delivered. To no, it was like, oh well, this dude did this, and Oakland did that, and what, like Rising did this. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get off Twitter because there's too much stuff going on. But anyway, we're here. We're gonna have a great show. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We got Pugs and Hugs here. Thank you so much for joining us. Reese, we got Harry Austin as always. Thank you for joining us, and Tomas, thank you so much for joining us as well. We have a great show for you guys today. Of course, we're going to talk about the new Phoenix Rising head coach, Juan Guerra. Owen was able to speak with him in today's press conference, so we're going to definitely see some stuff in regards to that. We also got some team updates, or how can I say it? We got some updates regarding a transfer, and that might not occur after all. We're going to take a look around the USL, and also we're going to answer some questions. If you guys are part of our Discord, I asked you guys this morning to drop your questions, so we're going to try to get to them. Most of them, the ones that you guys dropped on there, might already be answered throughout the course of the show, but we'll make sure to get to them at the end as well. All right, Owen, game week. Rising is heading to El Paso, Texas, Sun City. That's what they call it over there. And Rising has a big opportunity this weekend. They are, they played 24 games so far this season. They're 8-11-5. They are 5 points back from El Paso. So it's a huge game. And, you got a new head coach. You got everybody excited. You got this like 2-week break, basically, that kind of builds the anticipation for this. It's a recipe for really good things, but it's also a recipe for disaster. So what are your thoughts coming into that?
It's See, Harry here seems to think it's going to be an easy win for Rising. I mean, if there's anything this Rising team has shown us this year, is that there's no such thing as an easy win. Now, under Juan Guerra, look, I know the boys have effectively said, look, we've got to, the excuses are gone now. Rick is gone. There's no more time for excuses about all things like that. Now we're in a situation whereby the boys have to knuckle down and get things done. It's a tough one because El Paso have been really, really struggling lately. They are in free fall again, as Harry is saying there in the chat. They haven't won for quite some time. But yeah, we'll have to see. Look, there's often, and you do see this, a coach gets fired, someone else comes in. You get that little bit of a bounce sometimes, don't you?
Mhm.
And Rising really needs that with some of the games that are coming up, especially the ones over that like week-long spell where it's El Paso, then it's RGV at home, and then Colorado Springs away. Well, two of those teams are really struggling for form lately. If you can get wins of both of those games on the road, if you can pick up 4 points out of 6 out of those and then win against RGV at home, you're in really, really good shape then in terms of turning the season around, getting back on track and being in the playoffs at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's incredible considering how insane this season has been for Rising, that they still have a chance to do this. And I feel with 10 games, a new head coach, a newfound confidence, I should say, as well. I think these guys can pull it off. They're still really talented. We know what they can do on the field. It's just a matter of putting it all together. So if they can, string a couple wins, I mean, and get some points, a couple of weeks from now, we could be saying, hey, how far can Rising go up the playoff ranking, or the standings, I mean. So we'll see what happens. It's a huge game on Saturday. Little heads up, I'm gonna be there. I already got my flight booked. Me and Owen are gonna hit some enchilada spots that I've been researching. I know Thomas has some spots as well, so just be on the lookout for that. I might make some videos. But anyway, back to to what's going on. Juan Guerra, Owen, you were able to speak with him today. We got a couple videos for you guys, but what stood out for you from that first conference. I got a chance to see it, and it's just how eloquent he is, and not that he's not, or he was not able to speak eloquent before, but I just like how he formulated his ideas and he kind of vocalized them to you guys. I really like that from him. And so what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel as though you are right. Look, Juan, when he speaks, he's very eloquent, very much knows what he's talking about. You just listen to him and you can hear someone who, has played the game at a high level, has been around this game for a long, long time. I'd also say that just broadly speaking, and sometimes what you learn about these kind of things is not what's said in the press conference, it's what happens around. And it's small things. It's seeing a player in a hallway and just getting the feeling that the vibe seems a little bit lighter, perhaps, than it has in recent weeks. Almost as though a little bit of a weight has been lifted. They feel as though there's just a sense of a fresh start, almost. And look, before we get in now, we're going to go through, of course, all the stuff that Juan had to say. Should we kick off by just listening to what Bobby had to say as his opening remarks about bringing the new head coach in?
We're really excited to have Juan back with us. Obviously, when we decided to part ways with Rick, there's a long list of candidates that reached out. We had our list of candidates and very familiar with Juan and what he did with us for a year here and then the experience he gained in Oakland. And he was certainly on the short list for us and really excited. I know the boys are excited to see him. And, there was a lot of things that we looked at when identifying our next head coach, and Juan checked all those boxes for us. So excited to have him in here and out on the grass right now with the boys and getting ready for El Paso.
So yeah, those are the opening remarks there. Now, of course, this has been a long drawn out process, hasn't it, really, of bringing in Juan from Oakland. Lots of talk over the weekend about, was there tampering involved, all of that kind of talk. Look, there was a lot of stuff in there as well. We had the conversation, and I mean, we've all, I'm sure, heard bits of this where other coaches were very much interested in this role. In the end, they've gone with a guy who has far more of a link to the players that are already here. So yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense. One other thing to note in there, actually, if we're going to talk about specifically, I guess, the allegations of tampering, Bobby, when he was asked specifically about parts of this, said, look, when they wanted to formally interview Juan, they did go to Oakland's ownership and ask for permission. Now, what I will say that's notably missing there is that he didn't say they were given permission, but they did ask for it.
And that was going to be my question, because why would Oakland go through the trouble of putting out that statement and announcing that Juan was on administrative leave as well, if Bobby's saying that they went through the proper channels, which, like you're saying, they probably did, but did they get permission to do so?
Regardless, a deal has been approved. Both sides seem to be relatively happy with what they've come away with. Of course, part of that, for those of you who didn't see the news earlier, it does mean that Juan will not be able to be on the touchline on the September 10th game when Rising plays Oakland Roots here in the Valley. So, yeah, there's clearly been some other things involved. We're also expecting another coach to come along as well from the Oakland setup, but yeah, we're going to have to
his main assistant. Do you know? Because I know maybe out there.
It did come up in the press conference today. And I know people have been asking about what's going to happen to the existing coaching staff there. What Juan told me today was, look, they're all going to be left in their positions. He knows them all. He's happy to keep working with them. He will be bringing in one more person, and he didn't name the person at this point. Wasn't sure if he could name the person at this point. There was reporting from Jonathan Como in Oakland that it's actually his assistant coach, Marcos Reyna, will be making the trip down from Oakland to Phoenix. So we'll have to wait and see for that one to be officially confirmed, but it does seem to add up, and it adds up with the answer that we were given today. But yeah, so the remaining coaching staff will be in place. Danny Stone is going to have to take charge of that game against Oakland because, well, will not be allowed as part of the deal they signed with Oakland to take charge of that game. So,
Owen, just for me to kind of get a sense of what happened, was this basically a trade for a coach? were some money sent over to Oakland, and then Oakland's like, all right, cool, go ahead. I know there's not really like any rules. Dan here in the chat makes it known when the league publishes a rule book, I'll listen to the people chatting about the rules, because there was a lot of Twitter chat saying, hey, what's going on? What's this is unexpected. So at the end of the day, just to make it clear, was it really like a trade in a sense for the coach?
Well, you often find though, and this is the case no matter where you are, that compensation is generally paid when you try and take a coach from somewhere, and that applies to coaching staff at any real level. There will be times whereby there are elements in a contract that may waive that. In this case, I'm led to believe that's not the case, despite some belief earlier on that was the case. It sounds as though that wasn't the case. So yeah, there was money, something exchanged hands at least. We don't have the full details on that. Of course, it's an undisclosed transaction, but something obviously changed hands, and everyone seems to be at least, if not happy, at least relatively satisfied with how they came out of it, given where things were previously.
Gotcha. Before we get to the videos on Juan Guerra's conference today, I do want to ask you, so I know, Juan was looked at as the coach or the preferred candidate for coaching this team because of his connections, but was there anybody else seriously considered, someone like an Ian Russell, a Todd Ramos apparently was in the running for some reason, but we saw that he went to Hartford. So was there anybody else that was considered seriously?
It's a good question. It's not too certain. They obviously spoke with various people. From what I gather, Bobby's phone was blowing up at times, because this is, regardless of what people want to say, it's one of the real big jobs in this league. There's no real question about that, I don't think. The amount that the owners look, they don't necessarily pay more than any other team in this league. There are other teams, of course, that also have big budgets. Rising from at least previous discussions, don't have the biggest budget, but they are a team that invest a lot and give a lot of resources to the coaching staff, to the players at all kind of levels, really, and are serious about trying to get things done in terms of investment. So that's just, that's the backdrop to all of this. Obviously, other people will express interest. I'm not sure how serious those conversations got. Obviously, very quickly after Rick's departure, we ended up in a situation where the talk was all about Juan Guerra. Look, we had the stuff that was on the face of it. You had the very public, he was suspended or put on administrative leave from Oakland Roots. But then in the background, the chatter at that point was very much, this is done. He's coming. He's coming soon. And that was very, very quick, almost to the point where you kind of feel as though it was decided early, because this is the thing. Phoenix Rising is a club that is a very win now club at all times. They weren't giving up on this season. And in this kind of a situation, if you're not giving up on a season, who's the guy you bring in? It's a guy that's already respected by a lot of the players, already knows a lot of the players, and can probably get the best out of them in this current situation. So that's the guy they decided to go with. And we'll just have to see now if he can get over the line and get Rising into the playoffs. Yeah, for sure. Like we spoke about earlier, Juan Guerra had a press conference today. Owain was able to speak to him along with other reporters. So what was one of the questions that you really wanted to ask him, and how did you feel about his response? All right, well, I tell you what, we'll go with a nice broader one to start with. So let's go with, I asked him about stepping into effectively the shoes of a former colleague, stepping into his former boss's shoes, actually, in Rick Schantz. Here's what he had to say about replacing Rick.
I love Rick, man. I love Rick. And I always told him, and we used to joke, I called him the other day, and we spoke for a while. And last year when we were together, sometimes we're talking before or after games, and I would say, man, I feel bad for whoever takes this job after you. And guess what, man? I'm standing over here today. So, it is. I understand the responsibility that I have, but at the end of the day, that that responsibility is not just on me. It's on absolutely everybody that represents the organization. That responsibility is on the guys that are selling tickets. That responsibility is on our kitmen. That responsibility is on you guys as well, that you're the bridge between us and the fan base. So everybody that represents the Phoenix Rising at the end of the day feels the same way, and we understand the responsibility that we have. So we're going to try to be excellent. We're going to try to bring our best every single day. And on the technical side, we're going to try to give to the players all the resources they need to be at their best potential. And then at the end of the day, we'll add up the points, and hopefully they're enough to compete and enough to be at the top of the table where we deserve to be.
I feel like there's, and this is something that I see has come up in the chat there about building the culture already. The way that he's speaking is immediately off the bat, kind of trying to invoke this idea of, look, we are all one big club. This all needs to pull together. And the success isn't just going to be something that he's going to claim alone. It's the players, it's the fans, it's everyone is driving in towards this. I'm really intrigued to see it. I also think that it's actually going to really change things next Wednesday for that RGV home game. In terms of just the atmosphere at the stadium, I feel a lot of that negativity is going to dissipate, at least from certain elements of the stadium, at least, whereby look, there will be people who will go there and will still say, if Rising go down, oh, it's as bad as the rest of the season. But I feel as though there's going to be a lot more patience in certain elements there, and quite frankly, it's deserved. You get patience when you've just come in as a new coach. So yeah, I'm excited to see the early steps now as to how it goes down.
Yeah, and I agree with Adrian here in the chat that it not to dig on Rick, but I feel like these answers that Juan is given, and this is just going off this one clip, is that they seem honest. You know, he's here to bring change and to be winning, you know, the winning games and getting points on the board. And I think he feels like, I think he sees what is going on with the team. I think just being there and being around the guys, you know, he can see, you know, what happened with this team throughout the course of the season. You know, he was there last year as well. He was able to help out and take that team to the playoffs as well. But he knows how Rising should be playing. He knows the players. And so I think the fact that he's there and he's saying, you know what, let's just kind of, you know, regroup, guys. You know, you know that you're not like this. Let's start from scratch and see if we can make this run towards the playoff. And that's refreshing. It's a change in culture, and it's something that should, you know, build over time, and hopefully the results come quick. You know, that's one of the things that, you know, we can't really wait too much, you know, for anymore, because there's only 10 games in the season. So I like that. I like those answers from Juan.
And even then, again, yeah, it builds that kind of, I guess, sense of collective responsibility for everything going forward. Whereas what often became the criticism under Rick Schantz is that what we saw frequently was, well, the players aren't getting it done. That was just it. It was effectively everything seemed to be spun onto the players. It was always individual errors. It wasn't really game planning or anything like that. It also came in terms of, you know, I'm going to stop covering for the players by changing the system up, which actually, and we're going to get onto this very shortly, because we do have more video clips here talking about some of these, which also links into what Pat Moses said here about expecting a major change in terms of lineup and style. Do we expect the same? Well, you know what? Let's kick straight in with that. There are two real kind of clips on this particular thing. Let's go with the first one we're going to look at is some of those players who've been kind of discarded in previous weeks. Yeah, Ryan Flood, Claudio Repetto. Should we expect to see guys like that given a second chance now under a new coach? Here's what Juan had to say.
Absolutely, everybody has the same opportunity, and absolutely everybody has the same responsibility. And maybe they're going to play different roles. You know, they understand that, and everybody in our locker room is together. They have full awareness of where we are and the things that we need to do to change and revert the situation.
I wanted Repetto and like as a center back. I've been saying this all along. I agree with Juan. I'm just kidding, but I'm looking forward to this. You know, I know we got Michael and we got BJ here in the chat saying, "Hey, release Flood, man." And I agree with that as well. He's a player that's been missing for a long time, and I like this, that he's given chances to everybody in the squad to be able to earn their place in the lineup, and I think that accountability is going to really help this team.
I feel as though just the problem is that Rising was struggling for so long in general in terms of just results. Everything wasn't going right, and yet you've got players who are being kind of pushed to the side, and that didn't sit right. It didn't seem to work quite right, just because how can you rule people out when just things aren't going right in general? Why are we going to blame individual players when the problems seem to be far more systemic? Well, that's what Juan had to say today. He's definitely open to bringing them back. I feel as though the other parts of this kind of topic we're exploring here, there was a lot of talk over what the formation was going to be. Of course, Juan has used more of a free at the back kind of system while he's been up in Oakland, but Rising hasn't played that way really long term ever. There's been one or two chances that Rick has given it a go this season, but typically we expect to see Phoenix Rising playing in a 4-3-3. Well, I asked Juan, is he going to stick tactically with the 4-3-3, or is he going to try and do something else? And here is what he had to say on the tactics.
We'll see, man. You know the quality that is in that locker room, right? So now I have a lot of pieces. I have a lot of pieces to play different formations, and we can adapt depending on the rival that we have. So that's great for us as managers, and that's also, we'll see on the day to day. At the end of the day, Owen, it's not so much about what I want to do. It's also a lot about what is in the locker room and who are the pieces that at a given moment can give me their best. So it's not about me. It's about who's available and who can give us their best, and we adjust, we adapt, transform, and do whatever it's necessary to try to win.
So yeah, based on that, it seems as though we should expect a little bit more of a flexible Rising team. Obviously, no commitment to any particular tactic there, but yeah, it's interesting. I'm intrigued to see, because of course, when you are a top team in this league, you need to think about changing things up. You can't just play the same way all the time, especially when it's an attack-minded kind of formation that. If especially under Rick's system, right, and this is something else we should actually do here. We should talk about the fact that he's obviously got a little bit of a different philosophy in this, and he mentioned this today. He mentioned that Rick's system is very vertical. It's all about the transitional moments. He lives and dies by those transitional moments. That's where it went wrong, really, this year. The transition was just lethargic. It was flat. It didn't work. Well, Juan's system is a little bit more possession-based. It's not that they're not going to look to catch you on the counter if they can, but it's the fact that he prefers to be a little bit more possession-based, to control the ball a little bit more, rather than just win the ball, immediately look to completely go the other way and catch people in that way. So there are going to be differences. There are going to be differences. I'm intrigued to see how he approaches different games. I'm intrigued to see how the team will cope with possibly changing formations between weeks, because we saw, when it happened, I suppose the way of putting it is, when it happened when Rick was in charge, it felt more at times out of desperation. It will be intriguing to see how that will work when it's out of more thoughtfulness, and trying to do what specifically will best help Rising going into face a specific opponent. So we'll have to see on that. But that answers partially at least one of our questions, which is what's happening with tactics. And the answer to that is everything's going to be a bit of a flux, I guess, over the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this develops. I listened to Juan also gave a Spanish interview as well, and he talked about not making really huge changes, but more adjustments, and seeing how those fit within this team. I expect this team to play like Oakland did in that lineup and the same setup, in the formation. And arguably, you can say that Rising has a more talented squad. And so him having those chess pieces and being able to move them around, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. BJ here in the chat, I know you asked us on Twitter as well. Sorry, I didn't get to answer your Twitter question today, but he says 3-4-2-1. He wants Flood, Farrell, King, Quinn, Lambert, Musa, Rodriguez, Hurst, Moore, and Williams. So that's definitely an option, that he has. And I think attacking wise, there's a lot of options. I think my concern is more of if he does decide to go with that back line of 3, who do you use? Are you going to put Lambert a little bit more back and play him through the middle as kind of like a center back? So those are the questions that, we'll have answers to on Saturday. And, I'm looking forward to see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I feel as though there's an opportunity here, as Scott says in there, about perhaps seeing Flood in a slightly different role to what we've seen him in with Rising. Of course, he wasn't a fullback when he arrived at Phoenix Rising, so it'll be interesting to see him in a more attacking role. And of course, we've seen him at his best at times back in those early days when he was or looked like he was on the attack in his role.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see on that. Again, and to Pat's comment here about not liking relegating the best defensive midfielder in the league to a centre-back, it's understandable. But at the end of the day, it's sometimes needs must. Happened earlier in the season as well, during that spell
and
of
we know
success.
Lambert can do so, but we've also seen how crucial he is to that midfield, when he's not there. So I think that's going to be a huge question, if Juan does decide to put Lambert there, and we'll see how this team responds. We can say that, hey, you got a new system, you have a new coach, but I don't think that many changes can occur, in less than a week. I don't know if the team is able to handle that. So maybe he'll be a little bit more conservative this week against El Paso, and then he'll kind of implement more changes as he goes on. That's what I would, kind of do as a coach, because if you just kind of, hey, Monday, we're going to change the entire system. It's like, I think that's a little bit too much to put on the players, but we'll see. That's just my opinion.
Well, we will see. That's kind of where we are right now. Look, I feel as though it's a little bit perhaps. I mean, these are professional players. They probably can adapt relatively quickly. But again, we'll see. The thing about it is obviously there's then a spell of 3 games in about a week. What is it, 8 days? So I don't know. We'll see on that one.
For sure. We got some more team updates, but before we get into that, I do want to talk about our friends at Four Peaks. So this August 31st, we'll be having our last Wednesday, which is an event that we have every last Wednesday of the month at Four Peaks. So if you guys want to join us, you guys can join the PHNX crew there on August 31st for some good fun, some good fun and better beer. So, and speaking of last Wednesday, we're also going to be announcing our next winner for the Toast of the Month sweepstakes. And when you win the sweepstakes, you guys can get a $50 Four Peaks gift card, a PHNX shirt of your choice, and a PHNX annual membership. And you can sign up for the sweepstakes at gophnx.com or click on the link on the show notes. And remember, you must be 21 years or older and enjoy responsibly.
I will say as well, if you're going to Four Peaks on that Wednesday, remember that the club do typically put on a pub to pitch shuttle. So you could always go pre-game at Four Peaks with PHNX and then head on down to the game against RGV that night.
It's going to be fun. We also want to shout out one of our newest sponsors. I'm trying to get through the sponsors because we got more now. We are super excited.
We have got more.
That's true. More furniture. That's our newest sponsor. It's set up there, Owen. We want to give a quick shout out to our friends at More Furniture. They hooked us up at the new office that we have. So new studio, new furniture, the whole 9 yards. So really appreciate More Furniture for doing that for us. Hopefully we can have a show there soon at the new studio. I don't even remember the last time we did a show at the studio, honestly.
It's been a while. So long.
So make sure to check them out because they've been super awesome with us and they got great stuff, man. Go check out their website. They actually have a Labor Day sale and you guys can check out what's going on with all those deals at morefurniture.com. That's morfurniture.com. Woo. All right. To answer Bonnie's question, I haven't given it out yet. I'm trying to think of something where I can tie it to like our trip to El Paso. So be on the lookout for that on our Twitter account, PHNX__rising. Santee More Furniture. Look at that. Good stuff, Rising Nation. Anyway, go ahead.
I feel like, and this goes back actually to Juan's answer about, everyone kind of being in it together and knowing the expectations. This is a specific call to action for Rising fans in particular here. For those of you who haven't been following along, the news came out today that San Diego Wave, NWSL team, they are opening their new stadium, Snapdragon Stadium, which is sharing with San Diego State, I believe. They've currently sold 27,000 tickets for that game. That game clashes directly with Phoenix Rising's trip to San Diego Loyal. So you've got to think about this now. If that many people are going to watch Wave at Snapdragon, they aren't going to Torero to watch Loyal. So we already know that Phoenix Rising is putting on buses for season ticket holders to get down there. If you are a Phoenix Rising fan and you can get to San Diego that weekend, get yourself to San Diego that weekend. Take that stadium over and show people that it doesn't matter where this team currently sits in the standings. This team is on top for a reason. Get there, make the point.
I'm just gonna say what Reese is saying on the chat: Rising takeover of Torero Stadium. So I'm gonna try to go. You know, I'm gonna try to go and support as well. You know, not only because we're covering the team, but if you guys can make it as well, that'd be fantastic. And I think season ticket members they're getting bussed over there or something.
They're getting bussed over there, yeah. So should be a decent Rising traveling support. Rumor has it it's also my birthday the day after. So if you want to buy me drink, you can feel free to do so after the game as well.
Sandeezy Owen on his birthday. Okay, all right, okay. It's all coming together. Even our producer Sean's wanting to go now. I could see him just behind the monitor there. Anyway, I'm just kidding, Sean. But yeah, there is no try, Ramon, says Pat. Yeah, we're gonna try. We're gonna make it happen. Good stuff, Pat. All right, y'all. Let's keep it going. You know, we haven't even got through half of what we were supposed to talk about today, but any more updates from today's press conference, Owen?
Yeah, so let's go with the main non-Juan Guerra one here, which is David Rodriguez, who came over, of course, Arturo's brother, and it was all announced he'd signed on loan from San Luis. He was going to join the team. There was a delay in his ITC, so his international clearance, of course. They've been hoping they were going to have him ready for that Orange County game. Well, the bad news, he has gone or is going back to San Luis. The ITC was rejected because there was some problems with that paperwork, and it's now past the deadline, so it was rejected. Rising appealed, and the appeal was rejected. So he's not allowed to register with Phoenix Rising. For anyone wondering, that doesn't mean the team can't bring people in. And to the one comment in here as well, the implication was given a couple of weeks ago that it was actually on the San Luis side. There was a problem with the paperwork.
San Luis,
it's not that Rising can't bring people in, but they can't bring people in from overseas. They have to be within the US. Players playing within domestic leagues here.
I'm blaming Bobby, guys. It wasn't his fault. Oh my God! Yeah, come on, San Luis.
If there's one thing that we know, it's that right now the South End, it doesn't matter. They will play Bobby for anything.
I should know better than that. Yeah, you're right. Come on, San Luis. You messed this up. Now we can't see the Rodriguez brothers in action in a Rising shirt. So
as Michael has to say here, mind though, Jonah lives in the US.
He does.
He was last registered with an American club. Do you know it happens to be
not a doctrine connecting? We'll see. Yeah. No, David Gutierrez not coming. Not a good thing. I was looking forward to seeing him. So that's maybe next year. We'll see. Coach Guerra, did you ask him about maybe bringing in a couple more additions to the club? Did we get any answers on that?
It did come up, but it felt as though it was one of those. Yeah, we might. Yeah, it's. The main emphasis today seemed to be the fact that there was a belief in the locker room as it currently is constituted that they can get the job done. The talent is already here in Phoenix, that on the whole, they're good enough. They're good enough to be in a much better position than they are in the table at the moment. And that ultimately is what ended up leading to Rick's demise at this club.
There we go. All right, Owen, a couple more questions. This is from our Discord chat. What player do you think benefits the most from the return of Juan?
Ooh.
You guys can answer in the chat as well.
I feel as though it's a mixed bag. There are a group of players who I think things were not rosy in that locker room in general for quite a few people. there was some who had kind of been cast aside. Look, I see the chat is now saying Flood. I tend to actually agree with them, to be fair, in that case, simply
Yeah.
because Ryan Flood, I feel as though his season had effectively been determined to be over by Rick
Mhm.
Schantz. And so the fact that you'd hope now that Juan is going to give him a second chance, based on the answers we had today, he will be given a second chance and will be given the opportunity to, maybe he won't be ahead of Babacar Jai, say, for example, in the
Mhm.
lineup, but he should at least be someone who's in the 18.
Yeah.
He should be in and out like that at least, because he's not done badly enough to justify banishment. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how it felt prior to Rick's departure. So, yeah, let's go with that. We'll say Flood is the one who benefits the most. Will Santi score? We're going to have to see how the setup looks. If it is him playing more narrow in that kind of
Mm.
free at the back kind of situation, maybe that will benefit Santi quite a bit, but we'll have to wait and see. Repetto a
Yeah.
second chance. That's also something that's definitely interesting.
Mhm.
How many goal scorers did he? I'm reading some of these comments now.
They're coming in quick.
To Oakland, so we know he likes him. Yeah.
Mhm.
Juan has always gotten on with Ryan, so I'm interested to see how that one pans out now that they've been reunited.
Yeah. I think, a big project that Juan will be, I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, but one big project that he'll probably have for himself is Santi Moore. How do we get him back to that level that he had last year? And because if Santi Moore can get going, man, like this team completely changes. And I think, he's going to take a look at what went wrong this season and see if he can put him in a better position to be successful and, get some goals going, and I think that's, that way we can see, the Santi Moore we saw last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If he can get going, I feel like this is a team that can definitely not just make the playoffs, but probably win 1 or 2 games. I feel as though Santi Moore could be a huge part of that. You've got to have realistically a serious threat from a player like that.
Mhm.
Either he needs to be setting people up or he needs to be finding the back of the net himself. I
Yeah.
don't think this team really turns it around seriously without him stepping up here. Now it's just a
Yeah.
question of, again, as we said earlier in the show, the excuses have kind of gone now, right? Rick has
Mhm.
left. The excuse, the clutch that was Rick Schantz is holding this team back, that is gone. That is no longer. Now the team have to step up. They have to adjust to
Mhm.
what's going to be a new coaching, mostly the same coaching staff, but a new head coach,
Yeah.
one who already knows a lot of them, who gets on well with a lot of them. They have to hit the ground running.
For sure. Speaking of Rick, one of the other questions was, what happened with Rick this season? Was it the tactics, the message, the players' trust, or some other stuff that we don't know about?
It was the players' trust, I feel, more than anything. It was just once you lose that, it's very hard. It's very hard to fix things.
Mhm.
You need to have those players backing you. You need to have their support and make them feel as though you aren't throwing them under the bus. You're in it with them. You are ultimately, yes, you're trying to get what the club is. The club is the priority, of course, but and that's the same in any line of work, right?
Yeah.
The minute that you lose the belief that your boss cares in the slightest about you and your best mate, or anything about your working conditions,
Mhm.
that's the point where you just say you don't care, you coast.
Yeah.
And I feel as though that's what we saw. It's what we increasingly saw over the weeks. You found that Rising just there were times where people, I think, had just had enough.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, there were other changes being made as well.
Yeah.
Cases like, I want to avoid the negativity. I'm not gonna get in with the
No more
negativity
energy
now. But
vampires. You're okay.
no
Come on.
more energy vampires. Come on, we can be positive. But like even when you were looking at other things like certain wingers that were brought in maybe and weren't up to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, it's overall, yeah, I feel as though it was a lot of the relations off the field. It was losing the locker room. That's
Mhm.
where things really went downhill. People weren't happy in there. And
So
once you
let
get
me
to
ask
that
you this
point, you
then.
don't fix it.
So let me ask you this, because you've been here a very long time covering the team, and they've been successful. We can't really deny that when it comes to Rick. But has then has there been negativity before in the locker room, but did the winning kind of cover some of that? And that
I
didn't
think it
happen here?
does. I think
Okay.
it does. And it's not as though there was no negativity.
Mhm.
You only have to speak to certain former players to get that feeling
Okay.
about what's going on. But yeah, I feel as though winning does kind of start to cover up with that. I will address a question quickly here that's in the chat about a certain striker from a team in California. Pat Moses is correct here. Carlson is on loan from Venezia in the
Mhm.
second division in Italy, so he is likely.
Oh, jerseys, by the way. Just putting that out there. Anyway.
Yeah.
But
So that was the answer to that question.
Okay, gotcha. Let's see. One more. Let's see. With rising
No, hold on a minute. Sorry. No, this is to the chat. Do not sign Andrew Carlton. No. And in fact, this is something. Look, there was some conversation that came up today. I've got the written quote here somewhere. I understand the culture of Arizona. I understand the culture of the people that come here and watch our games. So I'm very identified with that. And I also believe and I share the same beliefs.
Mm.
Look, I feel as though what
That
you're
was
going
someone
to see
talking.
is a team that, and that was Juan Guerra in the press
Okay.
conference today. I feel as though what we're going to see is a team that reflects elements of this, or a team that the fan base can identify with. I
Mm.
think is what we're ultimately looking towards here. So perhaps you're going to see more emphasis in terms of local players or that kind of thing as well. Look, it's.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there have been elements whereby this club has felt like it's drifted at times from its fans, especially over the last year. The implication from that kind of a quote there from Juan is that there's at least some acknowledgement on his part of that, and that he wants to drift back towards what the fans will identify with.
Got it. Last question for you. With Rising buying out Juan's assistant as well, what does this mean for Danny Stone? And I'm assuming maybe after the season, because based on Juan Guerra's comments today, everyone's staying, right? As far as the coach.
And I feel as though Danny is perfectly welcome to stay here longer term. Again, Danny and Juan worked closely together back when they were both assistant coaches on this team. So I don't see any reason that this would jeopardize his position. Whether he chooses down the line to move on or not, that's a different question. People leave this club all the time in terms of assistant coaches. It's just kind of that situation. So hey, at the end of the day, I feel as though it's his decision to make, and through the end of the season, at least, I'd say he's probably safe.
Sounds good. And if you guys aren't part of our Discord chat yet, make sure to join that and drop your questions. We're always happy to take a look at what you guys have to say, and what we have to say as well about Rising. So we'll see. We're looking forward to your questions. I mean, all right, y'all. Let's take a quick break and talk about OG's brands. If you have not yet joined the Flavoring Life Sweepstakes, what are you waiting for? You guys can join the sweepstakes, and if you are the winner, you can receive 3 bags of OGs, including orange creamsicle and tropical flavors, an OG's hat, a PHNX shirt of your choice, and a PHNX annual membership. No Derek picture today? Okay, no Derek picture today. But if you guys didn't see the guys over the weekend, they were at Maya Day Club. There we go, Derek. All right, I appreciate that, Sean. And Flavor and Life Sweepstakes, and you guys can get all that stuff that's on the screen: the gummies, the hat, the shirt, and the annual membership. And you guys can sign up for these sweepstakes. Can't talk today. Sorry, Owen. At gophnx.com or click the link in our show notes. And you can also check out OGs online at ogsbrands.com and on Instagram at OG's Brands. You can also find their products at your local dispensary, and you must be 21 years or older to purchase. I really wanted to go to Maya. I saw how much fun the PHNX crew had. Hopefully there's one more that I can go to, because I was super busy this week.
I feel like that was the last one,
Darn
unfortunately.
It. Yeah. Dang. Okay, maybe next year. But yeah, hopefully one day I can. So funny story about Maya. I tried to go to a pool party once, but I showed up with like cargo shorts, and I guess that's not allowed. I wasn't really planning on swimming, and I guess you need swim shorts to get in. And I was like, you know what, whatever. I'm going home. And I went home, and I was like, I'm just gonna take a quick nap. And I ended up napping for like 4 hours. So I totally missed out that day. But I'll make it one day to Maya. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and talk about what's going around the USL. We got some games tomorrow, Owen. How are we feeling about them?
There are games tomorrow, aren't there? Let's take a look. Who do we have playing tomorrow?
We got San Easy against Oakland.
That's their first game in the post Juan Guerra era. Be interesting to see what happens there. Of course, it's a club that is no stranger to turmoil when it comes to coaching decisions. So guess we're going to just see that. But hey, and Tulsa against Hartford is the other game there as well.
Tab Ramos time. All right, that should be fun. Yes,
Indeed.
good games tomorrow.
I'm going to have to get the odds up now. Get you the latest odds.
While you do that, we do have some other games this weekend. One of the interesting ones, of course, is the El Paso Rising, but the other one is the Switchbacks New Mexico game. That's kind of like a mid-table, at least in the playoff sense, game. So we'll see how Colorado responds. New Mexico's still up there as well. So keep an eye on that one. But yeah, we'll talk about those games a little bit further down the line, maybe on Thursday. But any odds for the Tulsa Hartford?
I was actually going to go hop in with the other one. This is actually a pick that I'll take because in the last week, all the question marks, everything that's been happening with Juan Guerra, I feel as though there's a good chance Oakland Roots gets a result. I'm not going to say they're going to win. I'm not going to say they're going to draw. I'm going to go with a double chance, which is do Oakland Roots win or do they draw? If either of those two outcomes happen, plus 105.
Not bad.
I'll take that. That's not bad for a double chance. That's not bad. So I feel as though there's a good chance Oakland comes away with at least a point out of that game. To me, I don't see Hartford quite getting the bounce of Tab's arrival. I feel as though Tulsa at home will get the job done. They are really on good form at the moment. They are catching up, trying to catch up at least with Detroit City, and they've got some games along the line that could help them do so. Tulsa plus 105 for a Tulsa win in the 90 minutes there. So those would be my two picks.
Get it done. San Diego negative 145, and then Oakland Roots plus 300. So if you want to, put your money on it, there it is. And also some money that you should put down is on Manchester United. That is right, Owen. They are taking the league. It's going to happen. I saw it yesterday with my own eyes. We took down Liverpool. It was amazing. Going all the way. Put your money on Man U. They're taking the league this year.
Is this like when all the Rising fans started saying, oh, we're back up after beating Colorado Springs and then proceeded to draw against Vegas and lose to Orange County?
No, this is not a Chelsea network. Get out of here. No.
Yeah. Why am I surrounded by such plastics? Okay.
Man,
Speaking of which, Reese there, who congratulations. I hope you didn't get in too much trouble, Reese, from the last episode.
Oh, he was watching it at school, right? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you didn't get in any trouble there, did you, Reese? Please tell us he didn't. But
PHNX
Reese, of course, being an Arsenal fan.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah. No, PHNX Sports, can you take that off? The robot that's typing this now. Now we know it's a robot.
It's a bot in the chat, isn't it? It's a bot in the chat.
Yeah, I can't believe these human being to put that on there. Speaking of DraftKings, y'all, if you haven't downloaded the app, make sure to do so. The DraftKings Sportsbook app. When you use promo code PHNX, you can make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Bet just $5 on college football, which is starting up, and you get $200 in free bets instantly, and that's code PHNX only at DraftKings Sportsbook. So we'll see. Look, as far as college football, so some of you may not know. I don't know too much about it. The last time I really watched college football was when Vince Young was playing against USC. It was winning the national championship, but now it's so complicated. But I'm looking forward to get into it. Sean and all the boys over there at ASU do a great job. So I'm looking forward to checking it out this season.
And to Ramon's point there about backing Man United for getting up there. Did you know that at the moment, if you wanted to bet on Man United to win the Premier League, it's currently plus 4,000, which means for those of you who don't understand betting, if you put $100 on Man United to win the league, you would lose $100.
That's not how that would work, because they are going to win. We're going to take it. We're going to be back in the Champions League next year. Ronaldo's going to win his 6th Champions League. It's going to be groovy.
Well, if you think they're back in the Champions League, at least for a top 4 finish, they're plus 275. Which means if you bet $100 again, you would lose $100.
That's not the way it's going on. But yeah. PSV against Rangers tomorrow. If you guys checked out our interview with Greg Hurst earlier this year, that's his favorite team. So hopefully they're able to get into the Champions League, but actually not.
Shout out as well to Josh Cohen, former Rising goalkeeper,
in the Champions
League.
Made
it into the Champions League group stages of Maccabi Haifa.
Nice. Always good to see those. But yeah, not hoping Rangers win tomorrow because we got a couple Mexicans in that PSV team. So Sorry, Greg Hurst, if you're watching this. Anyway, Owen.
How are Cardiff doing is the question.
It's okay.
We'll ignore the last game, but it appears that we're actually trying to play football this year. The last game wasn't quite so good, losing to Bristol City, but hey, it's a work in progress. We were expecting it to be work in progress this year, so I'm okay with that. I'm okay.
Nice. Yeah, good. A lot of good soccer going on. Club America played tonight as well. Chivas, Liga MX fans, they're playing right now. So if you guys want to catch them, I think they're playing right now as well. All right, Owen. Anything else you want to talk about? Get it off your chest now. Then you have to wait until Thursday.
Yeah. Any word on where Rick will end up? Scott asked in the chat. No. Look, at the end of the day, we need to remember that Rick, I know at least, and this is something that was kind of vocalized in the past by people in the league, is, well, Rick's only got a B license. He had a lot of success here. He's only got a B license. He was going to work on the A license, I believe, this coming fall, which now he doesn't have a team to work with, is presumably in question. We'll see. We'll see on that. But yeah, I'm not sure where he's going to end up. Might be a little bit of time. Of course, somewhere that people keep mentioning is Tucson. Well, Tucson haven't been doing too well. John Perlman's boys down there, they're struggling at the bottom of League One. So who knows? Maybe he'll go back to Tucson. But I don't have any particular intel to suggest that is the case. That's just speculation. To put it clear. Anything else that's worth bringing up? How did we feel about some of those results last weekend across the league? Because it was a good weekend for Rising, wasn't it? In terms of teams around them dropping points. You look at what happened. You see that El Paso dropped points. You see that LA Galaxy 2 lost. They dropped points. They drew against Charleston Battery. And then there were some other games as well. Monterey Bay dropped points. Vegas won against Sacramento. That was the one that went against the trend there.
Yeah.
RGV only drawing against San Antonio. So again, lots of points that were dropped by teams around Rising. Good news there. Of course, it was also, do we want to touch on a certain club plays at Keyworth Stadium? And they played against Louisville this past weekend. Did you have to watch that broadcast, Ramon? Did you suffer through that?
I don't think I caught that one. Enlighten me, because I'm a little lost in what you're saying.
I feel like I'm just going to leave it at, it reminds me repeatedly why neutral broadcasts are a good thing.
Okay.
That
I understand.
The idea that home broadcasts are a good thing, especially in a sport whereby most of your hardcore are going to the game themselves. You don't
remind me,
need
this
a
is
home
Detroit,
broadcast.
right?
You spoke the name. Yes.
Yeah. So I didn't get to see the actual video or the broadcast, but was he just talking smack? He was saying something about a foul not being right.
It's the classic. It's the classic one whereby it's just an overblowing of what was at worst, it was a dive in traffic at worst.
Yeah.
Now, I couldn't quite tell by some of those angles if there was contact or not, but yeah, again, at worst, it was a dive in traffic. Even Mike Watts is calling out on USL All Access today, the commentating on that one, just because it was cringeworthy, and seeing the defense of it as just speaking your mind. Well, if I wanted that, I'd go down to the stadium. I'd find a guy who's had enough to drink that he isn't being served at the bar anymore, and I'll have a listen to what he has to say. I don't want to hear nonsense. I want to hear relatively informed takes. That's the point. If you just want to spout whatever comes to mind, well, that's not really showing you've got the qualifications to do this, does it? Which is irritating, because the person in question probably should have the qualifications to do more of this.
Set up a live stream, put it on Twitch, on YouTube or something, like if you're going to be that way. So yeah, not good. Not a good look.
Yeah, and I'll go listen to drunk idiots at games. Or better yet, if I want to hear people who don't have a clue about the laws of the games, did you know you can go out and get paid for doing that? It's called refereeing grassroots matches.
There it is. Make some.
A lot of people who don't know anything about the laws of the games at those.
Hey, some people just like to have a whistle and run around, if they're making money. Anyway, great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to watch that clip now because, yeah, it sounds really interesting. All right, Owen. Well, I appreciate your takes tonight, all the information you brought to the table. And also, I want to shout out our chat. You guys were awesome today. Really enjoy being here with you guys. Like we said, we took a little bit of a break, but it wasn't really a break. But but we're back. So we'll be back on Thursday. We'll have a great show previewing the El Paso match. And again, we're going to be in El Paso on Saturday. So it's going to be a good time there. We'll go to some Chico's Tacos and some other stuff. And we'll see. We'll see what happens down there at the Sun City Chuco, as they call it. As well. Yeah, that's pretty much it on our end. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't yet, make sure to follow us on Twitter, PHNX__rising, and we will be back on Thursday. Go ahead.
Double the underscores, double the fresh start.
That is true. Fresh start. All right, y'all. That's it for us signing off from my apartment. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Take care.